All right, back, another tropical location. We got this guy with us. Two things of feedback we got last time was one, this guy's like a genius, like overload of information in like 15 minutes, and Josh, your shorts are way too short. So these are slightly longer, so I appreciate everyone with the feedback. And we will also have a special guest joining us today, but to follow up, and we pretty much did any sort of drop that was going to be out of the air, sort of net or maybe a little bit below net height. I want to talk a little bit about what happens if the ball bounces, maybe that high soft one, and then what happens if there's like a good one.
Yeah, sure. There's definitely a lot of different scenarios that happen there too. Like I kind of said in our last video when we were going over it, I intended to actually get to the bounce attack at some point, but we got like, I don't know, 15 minutes in, I was like, we still haven't gotten there. So unless we're trying to make this like a real long video, it's not going to happen today. So now we're back.
All right, so I'll just hit a couple to you. I want you to sort of high soft ones, and then I'll hit a couple, and then special guest and I will move in on a good one and just see sort of what you do, if you sort of concede kitchen, if you sort of stay aggressive, and then we can sort of break it down. Is that all right?
Sounds good.
All right. So we're just gonna hit a couple higher ones, and Ben's gonna show us what he's got. Oh. Not bad.
Okay, I mean, so really the first thing that I'd be thinking about on balls that are bouncing up in the kitchen, that are sitting up a little bit, is first, you are generally hitting it off its peak, because you do want to have something that is fairly linear, not too much upwards. And with that, the form matters a lot. So when the ball is bouncing up off of a very high drop, what you're usually going to find is it's actually outside of your normal strike zone. Like my normal strike zone might be something like here, and honestly, the high ones are bouncing more like a little up here, and actually that makes a huge difference, because here when you're crunched, like, you don't have control, your height varies a ton, and that's really not good. If your height is bad, then you're either not going to get it at their feet or your ball's going out. So I like to actually kind of pick my elbow up. So you're going to notice I get around the outside of the ball with this elbow very high, and it looks like a sweeping motion almost. That allows me to get on top of the ball and keep it very low to the net. So that's for one where I'm attacking it in a way where it's good pace and it's low to the net. I'm not hitting it with like extreme topspin where I'm trying to bend it. I'm more relying on the fact that I know I can keep it in this like area right here where it's going to be low pretty much every time. So the sweeping motion really helps for that specifically.
So when you were taking them out of the air, I was sort of impressed or shocked by how much like lateral movement you're actually doing for a fourth. I think a lot of players get sort of stationary, stuck, and they hit it sort of in varying positions. So pretty decent amount of footwork when you're setting up to hit that one as well.
Yeah, I would say it's probably more important in the out of the air one to be lateral, because at some point with out of the air, you kind of are setting your feet and you're like, I'm expecting the ball in this area or in this area or what have you. And then if it's not in that area, then you're pretty much sunk because you've already set. Whereas when you're hitting it off the bounce, it's not that you don't set, you do want to set, but there is a larger amount of time where you're still able to move your feet and adjust. So I would say it's not quite as important. You are still moving laterally, but you can make more minute adjustments towards the end of when you're about to hit it, rather than out of the air. You are pretty much planted kind of early, which can be tough if you do it wrong. Let's do a few more.
Yeah, right. You said this?
I've never done that. Have you?
No, I've never done that.
It's pretty good. Yeah, and obviously, like, there is a depth, of course, where you're trying to take it off the bounce versus out of the air. And usually kind of what I say to people is, yes, try to reach what you can, but the kind of caveat to that is there are some that you're going to be able to reach where your contact point is going to be fairly low. So the best way to usually think about it is that if the ball is going to bounce higher than your contact point would have been out of the air, then let it bounce. Other than that, take everything out of the air. But if you hit a really high one where to get it, I have to be here, but it's going to bounce here, then I want to let it bounce. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Is it like, I sometimes think like out of the air, like if it's going to be like equal out of the air or equal off the bounce, maybe go for out of the air to prevent time from them? Is that?
Yes, yeah. So out of the air is better because it takes away time. So it's not an exact strict rule of just because I'm getting a slightly higher contact point, I want to do that. There is a little bit of a balance where, yes, taking it out of the air is slightly better because you are taking away time, but there's definitely some people that take everything out of the air they can when they're really letting balls go that could be bouncing quite high.
All right, so Ben's gonna hit 2 more, and then
I.e. Preston, actually. He does this.
Special guest is gonna try.
When he has the sweeping motion, he's gonna like this.
Okay. Oh, didn't make it. He's human. First miss in JJP YouTube history for Ben. Yeah, you don't need to do that.
So a really good kind of bonus about this one right here is that when you're hitting the sweeping motion, because of how you drop your wrist with your elbow up, you can see I'm hitting the extreme outside of the ball. So when you roll the ball, like with topspin, you can certainly hide directions. This is a different technique to hide direction. It's not about being loosey-goosey with the wrist. It's just the fact that when you have the paddle this much outside, you can control left and right very easily, and it basically looks the same every time. Like you alter your swing path just very slightly and you get different left and right. So when I'm hitting this to you guys, what you're usually gonna notice is I'm swinging pretty hard. You're not really gonna be able to tell which direction I'm going as far as right, middle, left goes. You can change that very easily. Again, it's not a roll. That's not what it's about. It's just, it hides direction because you're hitting outside of the ball.
And just to confirm for people listening, you're still taking it in the relative same sweet spot attacking wise, or are you letting that get slightly back because you're letting it ride more?
I would definitely say that it's not us. Like out here, for instance, when you're hitting out of the air, you're hitting at full extension. When you're hitting with more of a horizontal face on, say, a drive, or even if I was attacking one of these in a fairly normal way, my contact point is more out in front of my body a little bit, like this. When I'm hitting this one, I'd say it's usually slightly further back for whatever reason. I think it's because when the paddle drops, when you drop the paddle head like this, if you hit it out here, you're already faced way over that way. So you almost have to keep it here in terms of contact, because there's a couple ways that you can change direction of the ball. One is paddle face, but my paddle face is constant in this. Therefore, to change it, I have to change contact point. So yeah. This is always the same, and that's a big reason what we talked about in the other video, where if the paddle is the same every time, it's very easy to control height and stuff like that because it's constant. Your body likes constant things. So then I just alter the contact point. If I'm going back there, I'm contacting it here. If I'm going middle, I'm more here. If it's there, I'm just here. So basically, all you guys have to go on right now is not my paddle face anymore. It's like, okay, at what point in his stance is he contacting the ball? And that is the last second. Very literally, that is the last second you're able to read anything.
It's also very tough to read from 25 feet away.
Yes, yeah.
So I'm standing right there, I could be like, oh, Ben's contacting a little further back. Probably gonna go more this way.
Yeah, but if you're looking at me from this direction rather than this direction, it's gonna be pretty hard to see that. So that's why outside of the ball is hard to read.
Dude, feels very reactive versus proactive for us.
I don't know, how does he do this stuff? All right, give me one, don't tell who you're gonna hit at, but one at me, one at him, so we can sort of see the two differences, and then we're gonna make Preston do it. That was you. Yeah. Yeah, once he said it, it's easy to pick up. I feel like we got this.
I
Yeah.
just downloaded it.
Let's play this one out. Can you teach him?
Maybe. So just a couple more things on this, and that is that there is still the peripheral idea, and it's a little harder here because I don't have it out in front. I have it more here, but I need to be aware of where you guys are at so that I can adjust pace accordingly, because I'm always going for the same height. I can change left and right based on my contact point. Then my last thing that I can change is how hard am I hitting it, and that is based on how far you guys are getting in. But what I really like about this shot is most people, when they see me hit from here, this kind of one, your drop is a little high, so you are probably going to tend to stay back a little bit. But also when you have hiding directions like this, people tend to be like, don't want to come in on that. I don't know where it's going. In reality, it's probably often better to just come in and sell out so I don't have all the angles on you guys.
Yeah.
But either way, it's kind of tough because of the directions.
We've been going pretty easy, so.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
How much is it that you're actually reading them, but since you play against the same people all the time, it's like tendencies, like, oh, such and such typically is crashing a little bit more? Or?
There are specific people with patterns, but I would say it is a lot. Like players, as pattern-based as they are, they do a lot of different things. So you still have to be like, are they doing something different this time? It's usually extremely specific patterns that are faster, like when you're attacking them, where you know what they're gonna do.
Okay.
Like everyone has the same tendency of, they usually sit on the same side when they have to guess at something. Whereas in a situation like this, if I have kind of an up ball, there's usually, you know, 3 or 4 different things people have the option of doing. Maybe they have a tendency towards one, but they'll usually have at least 2 or 3 that they will sometimes do. Yeah.
So let's say we do crash. You recommend that we crash the net. Let's say we get to here. Are you slinging an attack at that point, or is it more of a
good question. So again, I still have the same swing path, and I'm still looking for the same kind of height over the net, right? And then I again have I can change left and right based on contact point. At that point, my only thing is how hard am I hitting it? All right, because if you guys are rushing to where I feel like you're getting in, but you're not completely stopped, that's usually where I'm going kind of a little bit slower pace and to one of the corners to where you guys are trying to move this way, I'm getting you this way. Okay, that's just momentum thing. If you guys are running so fast that you are stopping by the time I'm hitting it, I will often either go right hip or body, because when you're so planted like this, just here, you often are not ready to do that. You're just stable, which honestly, it might be better for if you have good hands to be better to just try to get all the way up there and be stable and be up there, but most people don't want to move that quickly or just can't. So yeah, that's what I would do against it often, or just stay all the way back. It's one of the 2 extremes. But yeah, when I see that, I still do have a good amount of options. And also, kind of middle hard is great against people that plant as well.
Let's try one more time. I'm running up.
You're selling out? I'm with you, partner.
Oh, mother.
So something like that, it's also tough to get out of the way. Like that one's probably out. It's pretty close, but kind of going up into this area when you've already sold out on.
He told you he was going to hit you there. Like, come in like this for me, would you? Like, no one's ever going to tell you exactly what they're about to do, and he does, and you're still like.
I wanted to see if he was right.
But that is definitely another issue. Is if I do hit it hard, if you're planting like that and coming all the way up, you're not ready to move out of the way at all. Whereas if you did come up to mid-court, like, yeah, I still have angles on you, which is why I use them. But if I were to go hard, that's something you'd easily let go.
See, we tested it. Now we know it's true.
All right, P, let's see you do it, bud.
All right, so just mechanically first, we're sweeping, right? So we got to drop the wrist.
Straight down?
Yeah, so it's not like down like this. It's more here.
Then I'm over?
Yeah, like that. Yeah, I like that. And then, yeah, cock the elbow up. Now, the higher the ball is bouncing, the more you're going to need to cock it up. So at a very extreme, I would be up here, right? But that very rarely happens. So most of the time, it's right about here.
Core rotation, or is it mostly an arm thing? A little bit of both?
It's really not that much core rotation. It's just not that big of a thing to where you need a ton of power. So it's mostly in your shoulder.
I got full faith in you.
In this strategy going where I get to start.
Just try to keep it low to that. We'll get to contact point and altering left and right later. Try to keep it low. Oh, look at that. That was perfectly low with good spin.
Feels interesting.
It does feel interesting.
Do you need a little shoulder warm up?
Yeah, that's actually fine. I like that form.
I think you just don't have reps.
I mean,
don't have reps.
Yeah, reps are good. Again, you hit the top of the net, which is something I'd say out of all shots, there's one other shot where I can hit the top of the net a lot. This one is the easiest to hit the top of the net and have it go over on a shot that's not closer to the net. Okay, so that one, you kind of got behind it, so it kind of was rising because you got the ball coming this way, and normally we want to contact it here to the side of our body. You took an extra step, and then it was suddenly more here. And whenever it's more of a scooping motion, that's where you get height. You want to make sure it's still to the side of your body. Because most people, they love to line up the ball like right here. So they're trying to hit right here. Tennis players especially, like they like it in their zone right here. This is not really in people's typical zone. And it's not your typical
This is
type
good for
of
us.
contact.
No racket background. We should be able to master this. Getting in weird zones.
That's really nice. You actually picked it up pretty quickly.
So
although I do
mean,
say it's not that it's not that hard to do. It's just not intuitive to do.
But like when he's hitting that, like because I'm seeing this and how close the paddle face is, I think it's going here. But
Yeah.
he has still the ability to hit it there, which is like pretty nice.
Yeah, it's all just contact point based, which is tough to read.
I'll be fully honest, I don't think it's going there either. Whenever that loads up,
It just ends up there.
I just follow to and through, and it's a lot of big, lot of boom.
Can you quiet that down over there?
Again, you hit the net, which is great. It tells me you're keeping it low.
I'm not really going low to high though in this.
You would in some scenarios. Generally, if you're using this one, but it's not as high of a bounce as you expected, then you would be doing it. Yeah, that one would be more like it. So normally, if it's definitely a high bounce, you're sweeping through pretty flat and still getting some topspin. But yeah, if there's one where I'm trying to get extra topspin, then you'll finish a little bit low to high, more like this. That one's a little more complicated. But honestly, at that point, you wouldn't necessarily need to use this type of form. This more often happens when I'm like, I'm going to use this one, and then it bounces lower than I thought it was going to bounce. Yeah, you could do that, or if you maintain this one, you just brush up
less
fast.
elbow hinge then, just from here to here.
Yeah, so instead of being up here, you're more down here, and then you come up more rather than across.
So it's like almost off the bounce, chariot a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit like a chariot whip off the bounce.
Can you go down the line on me one?
Okay, so in terms of changing direction, if you are trying to get it all the way to that corner with a similar stance, basically instead of your contact point being, back here, it would be pretty much like even like here. It's really not that much. It's not that significant. Just contact it out in front a little more. Nope. Yes, exactly. That's really nice. Yeah, that's the whole point. You never have to change your paddle face. The reason we are so good at keeping it low here, among this just naturally being conducive to hitting it low, it's also that we're good at doing the same thing over and over. So when your form's the same every time, other than contact point, your paddle's the same, you're gonna keep it low pretty much every time.
I thought this was gonna be like a 3-minute little tidbit.
Yeah, no, this is one of my favorite ones.
No, it's so good, but I didn't know he had this. And guy's not even had espresso yet.
Yeah, we've been working with it.
I mean, this is only one of the types. I mean, if we get into the lower ones, we still got a bunch of options there. I have my, it's usually like 3 sections. You got your high one, your linear one, and then your low one.
Okay.
And there's
All right,
different
give me one more. Let's see if you actually got it.
I got one, so I went back to here.
Yes.
So that's the last question, I guess. If it's short, checking up high, but it's not coming into my strike zone.
Yeah. So it's not riding through as much.
Right. Is that still tough?
So that one, it is tough to actually, like, you could do this one. That one, what you're talking about, where you come up to it, I would really only do if it's checking up a lot with enough time where it's like, obviously it's bouncing very high. I need to take in a step to get it, but it's like one of those real loopy ones, right? Whereas if it's kind of that intermediate that you just got, that's not really a scenario where you'd use that shot. You'd use what I'd call like my linear one, and then your form would change.
Pretty much if it's penetrating your, let's call it hip plane here, it's a good time to do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
yeah, I think hip plane and like as high as your hips, approximately.
here.
At the peak, yeah. Wow, so even on one that you shouldn't have been hitting it on, you still hit the net in a good shot.
That was so good, right? My God.
I'm actually shocked. Like, this is, usually people don't like this one.
All right. Yeah, but he has no racket background. This is normal for him.
You're right.
He's saving a spike ball back here normally.
Okay, so that one, sometimes people get ginger with it. Like, they'll feel like they got a lower one, which you did, and then they'll like lift up a little bit, and that causes the height to go up. Even on the lower one, like, unless you're truly taking pace off, don't be ginger with it, like, swing. What you want to trust is that the pace will come off when you're hitting outside of the ball. Like, you don't get a lot of pace if you're hitting outside of the ball, so don't worry about swinging hard. You gotta commit to it. Yeah, even like that,
I'm fine with that. That looked good, right?
Yeah, that's totally fine. You're gonna miss in the tape more often than
all right,
you would in others.
I'm hitting one just to see if I can learn from watching.
Your grip's kind of conducive for it because you're pretty severe conning.
When you say severe, it means typically like a negative thing. Yeah.
Also, weight-wise, you still want to be hitting like with weight forward. Don't like, you can hit it off your back foot pretty effectively, but it's not the
that's
goal.
So bad.
That is your contact point. You're still rising there. Hit it off the peak.
Okay.
Yeah, and that one you're backing up too much, where you're contacting out in front, and that's causing a little more height than you want. It is pretty close to your hips. Like, it's not out here anymore. It's like here.
All right.
Yeah, that's it.
I know why you pissed.
So that one, again, you let it got to your hips in terms of depth, but that was still rising.
Okay.
Let it get to peak. Yeah, that's the one. It's all contact point.
All right, one more. Pete, come in. Let's see what you got. Oh God, so bad.
That one you brandished your wrist, so it's gonna
Yeah.
it's not really gonna grip the paddle if you generate your wrist going upward.
I guess the only thing I'm seeing is that I feel like he's doing more like this than it is.
Which is more of a low to high thing if you receive a low one, whereas if it's bouncing higher, you can go straight through it.
I feel like hip high. I feel like it's almost just like directly through.
Yeah, it is.
Paddle face that you're talking about. Yeah.
Nice. Again, net. So you kind of see, like, the best thing about it is that when the ball is peaking near the level of the net, this is really good at hitting it very linear every time. See, that's why you get a lot of nets.
Yeah, I think it's probably like only like a maybe 10 to 15% shot.
Like, I would say, if not less. The majority out of the air,
Yeah.
on level.
It kind of depends. It also works really well with being good out of the air, because what do people do if you're really good out of the air? They hit it higher.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, I need to hit it higher in order to get it to bounce and hit it shorter. And then you have to have this one. Because if you're really good out of the air but you don't have this one, as soon as it bounces, you're like, what do I do? And if you use the wrong form, then you'll often not be a person that is able to keep it low to the net off of those, which is the most important part if it's bouncing up a lot.
Anything else?
Feels weird. Looks great.
You got it pretty easily.
I
don't
know.
All right.
I don't know why.
We're cutting on this one, but obviously there's more because we haven't hit a good drop yet. So 1 minute.